Get going.
All right, good evening, everybody, and it's
Good
so nice to
evening.
have everybody back here. This is so lovely to be back after the summer break. I hope everybody's had a good summer vacation. All those in India, I hope you've managed to step out of this heat. But it's we're getting no respite at all, and the rains haven't come in as yet. So, Satish, Moini, please enjoy the weather where you are. I don't know when the rains are going to start here. But
18.
welcome back.
It's
It's
very
18.
hot down here.
yep, it's the El Nino year, so I think we're all going to suffer a little bit this year.
I think.
All right, so let me also share my screen, and I just have a couple of slides. I don't even have that. Let me just put that there. All right, so today's book is Ghost Eye by Amitav Ghosh. And Amitav Ghosh, I want to start by telling you, is just my absolute
Okay, na?
favorite. I also have to tell you that I have to thank Satish for introducing me to Amitav Ghosh. So, Satish, all sins forgiven. I will never say anything bad about you because he's the one who introduced me. I'm the one.
Good God, I like people saying bad about me.
All right, then I will take that liberty as well. In spite of the fact that you introduced me to this wonderful author, and many of you all may know him. He won the Gyanpith Award in 2018. He's won multiple awards, literary awards that are there. I'm waiting for him to win the Nobel
Nobel.
Prize for literature because I think he truly deserves it. Anybody who has not read Amitav Ghosh, I urge you to read his Ibis trilogy, which is The Sea of Poppies, Flood of Fire, River of Smoke. I mean, they're tombs, but they're phenomenal books. It's on the first Opium War, it's about colonialism. And Amitav, in his true style, does so much of research, but still makes it so enjoyable to read. And that's the beauty of his writing. And similarly, novels tell you stories, but he sort of opens out a window to the things that he wants to share with you about colonialism, about the characters in the story, about Calcutta. His last couple of books, there've been so much of Calcutta, and it's been so lovely to be able to read that about the rivers, about the fish, about the environment. And of late, he has focused a lot of his writing on climate change because it's something that he believes in a lot. So you really, any book that you take of his, you will walk away, having learnt something. Like I said, he won the Gyanprit Award in 2018. Most recently, he won the Laureate Aramus Award in 2024, and the award was given for imagining the unthinkable. So it's really quite lovely, and maybe later at the end of the presentation, I'll read out the citation that they wrote for him, which is quite lovely as to why he won the award and his focus on bringing things that are real in the world in the form of fiction and essays to the world. So um, that's what he has written about. So let's get started with The Ghost Eye. There's the book for you. This book was released in January of this year, late December of last year. So it's a very, very recent book. At its heart, really, it's about a journey of various characters that are there, what they go through. It is about the theme starts with reincarnation, and then moves on to about climate change, about our journey, about humanity's relationship with nature, and that's really the theme of the book and what he brings out in The Ghost Eye. So let's start with The Ghost Eye. Ghost Eye begins in the book opens out in 1969. It's a year after I was born. 1969 in Calcutta, and let me start with the characters so that let's put the characters in place and then we'll go down with the story. The characters in the book there's a Marwadi family with a 3-year-old child, 3-year-old daughter named Varsha, and Varsha is really the one who has these reincarnation episodes. So we'll come to her in just a bit. So Varsha is a 3-year-old that is there in this Marwadi family. There is then we're introduced to Shoma, and Shoma is a psychologist. She's married to a pediatrician, and Shoma deals with Varsha and her reincarnation and does the whole research around that. We're also introduced to Dinu. Dinu is Shoma's nephew, and Shoma's sister, whose child Dinu is. Dinu has some medical episodes and doesn't keep too well. So Shoma sort of, in a way, adopts him, and he comes and spends a lot of time in Shoma's house. So he and Shoma are very, very close. So there's Dino in the book, and there's another person called Tipu, and we'll come to him later when we come to the story. But another character that I must mention is a young Burmese boy called Dev. And Shoma's father-in-law, the psychologist Shoma, her father-in-law had fought in the war in Burma, and he had met with this Burmese sergeant who was there, who helped him, saved his life, things like that. And that is Dev's parents. And when both Dev's parents dies, he's a young boy, and he eventually his mother had always told him about Shoma's family. So he finds his way, and he walks and finds his way to Calcutta and comes to the family that is there. So Dev is, when he comes, he's almost skin and bones because he's traveled so much. He's been through so much, coming from a war zone all the way to meet with them. But the moment he mentions Shoma's father-in-law's name, Shoma and her husband take him in, and they feed him, they keep him there in the outhouse, and eventually picks up Bengali very, very quickly. He just becomes a general, the kind of person who helps around in the house, helps, Shoma's husband, who's a pediatrician, helps him with his clinic. He learns to drive, so he drives Shoma around. And what Shoma really loves about him is that whenever she loses something, she'll turn to Dev. And this little young Burmese boy will always find whatever she has lost. In fact, once she dropped her car key in the park, and she was telling Dev about it. And he retraced her steps, and he found the car key in the park. So he endears himself to the family. They love him very much. One night, the mosquito net over the bed that Shoma and her husband are sleeping in catches fire, and Dev is almost there before the first scream goes out, and he saves their lives. So he becomes even more closer to them, and they look at him like almost like a son that is there. So that is Dev. Shoma and her husband have studied, who's a pediatrician, have studied in the United States. They both have their degrees from there. Shoma has done her master's in psychology. She's looking to do her PhD, so she works with university professors there. And they live in this beautiful house by the banks of the lake, very, very beautifully described by Amitav Ghosh in the book. You can almost picture it, one of those old Calcutta bungalows that are there with the shutters on the windows, the long running verandas all over the house. And they live in this beautiful house that is there. All right, so let's come let's get started with the story. The story opens with this Marwadi family, Varsha's family, this little 3-year-old, and Varsha is the apple of her father's eye. One day, all hell breaks loose. Varsha, who is part of this Marwadi Jain family, which, needless to say, to this group is, they are vegetarian, non-veg hasn't, entered the house, never, ever. And little 3-year-old Varsha screams at one meal and says, I want to eat fish. Why are you not giving me fish? I love eating fish, and you guys are not giving me fish. And everybody is shocked. right? How is this 3-year-old asking for fish? All the help and the maids and everybody is yelled at, and they believe that the help are the ones who have given her fish. Otherwise, how would she ask for it? And everybody swears that they haven't, but the little one is constantly asking for fish. After that, she talks about her life in a village somewhere, and this really gets everybody upset. Nobody knows what to do. And they call for Shoma's husband, who's the pediatrician. He comes and he checks her, and she seems fine. There is nothing wrong with the child. And she tells him, this little 3-year-old tells him about how she wants to eat fish because that's what she loves eating, and she's cooked it before and she's tasted fish before. And she also mentions that she sees people who are dead. And the conversation is it goes strangely, and the doctor is listening to her, and eventually he asks her, so if you were in that life, how come you are here now? And what are you doing here in this house? This is your family. And she says, no, I died because a snake bit me. And she shows her rib cage, and you can see 2 marks over there. And the parents are shocked because they thought it was just her birthmark, right? That was there. So the doctor is at his wit's end, and he tells the parents, I don't know. There's nothing physically wrong with her. But I think my wife would be interested in this case, and she may be able to understand because she's doing a lot of work in these kind of cases. And for the first few almost meetings that they have, nobody uses the word reincarnation because nobody wants to believe that something like this. Everybody is rolling their eyes and believing, no, it was the help that has told them something. She has read something somewhere. Somebody is feeding her fish from somewhere. Nobody wants to believe that it's something different. Eventually, the parents say, all right, and Shoma comes to meet the child, comes to meet Varsha. And Shoma has done some work. So to give you a little background, Shoma's when she worked with the university in the United States, some of the professors came down from the psychology department because they were doing a study on reincarnation, and there were many cases in Calcutta. Shoma was not a believer first in reincarnation, but as she worked with this professor, she got more and more interested in reincarnation as she saw the cases and as she saw this professor, try and discover more and more as to what was happening with reincarnation. So they get Shoma there, and Shoma has a chat with the child, and Shoma is quite taken aback because the child has a very, very clear memory of her past life, about her father, about her mother, about how she was a very, very good cook, and she would cook all these different kinds of fish. And as she's mentioning, rattling off the names of these fish, and she's talking about her village, she breaks into Bengali. And it's not the Bengali that they speak at home. It's a very rustic Bengali that she uses. So Shoma is very intrigued by this case of this child. But eventually, she meets her, she goes back home. The Guptas finally reach out to Shoma again and say that, she's refusing to eat anything. She insists on eating fish. So what needs to be done? What can be done? And Shoma eventually tells them, listen, we cook fish at home. I can cook fish. I'll bring it in my car. If you bring her outside your house so that the fish doesn't enter your house, since you're a vegetarian household, you can bring her outside and she can have fish. And finally, the father, who's, Varsha's father also has studied, the little girl's father has studied in the United States, little more broader outlook to life. And he's so worried about his little one. So he says, okay to that. And Shoma is very excited, right? Now, this is like a live experiment that is happening, and she can collect data on this. So she spends a lot of time trying to think about what is the fish that she's going to buy, right? And she looks at the different fish, and then she decides that she's going to make 3 different kinds of fish. So she gets the rui that's there, she makes a koi that's there, and then she makes it tilapia. Now, the tilapia wasn't available till very recently in Calcutta. It's a very new fish that is being farmed now and being sold in Calcutta. Right? People are not used to the tilapia. It's very recently introduced. So she just wanted to check this little girl's knowledge of fish since she had spoken so much about the different kinds of fish. So gets her cook to make these three different varieties of fish. She takes it in her car. The little girl comes out and she says, I'm going to play a game with you. And pat, this little one recognizes the names of every fish that is there till it comes to the tilapia. And she says, I don't recognize this. And she says, it's like a koi, but it's really not a koi. And finally, Shoma tells her that, it's a new fish called the tilapia. And she says, it's terrible. It tastes chemical. It doesn't taste like a fresh fish. And simply because these fish are the ones that are made in a farm, right? They're grown in a farm or bred in a farm, as they say. So Shoma is completely, shocked by how this child remembers everything. And in the conversation, she talks about her father. She remembers her father's name, her mother's name, her own name. Yeah, Isha was her name, and how well she used to cook. And she used to cook on the boats, and she used to cook for so many people. She remembers the name of her village, Lucy Bari, right? And after Shoma drops her home, Shoma does a lot of research, and there is a village by that name in the Sundarbans. And eventually, Shoma tries to get the father to agree to take this child there. And they think by taking her there and showing her her village and her past, she may come to terms with her past life and, and then get on, right? Sort of bring a closure to it and get on in that way. And they eventually take her to Lucy Bari. And the Varsha's father goes along with her. Shoma and her husband go, and the little one recognizes the village. She finds her way to her house. It's not there anymore because it's completely flooded with water. And she remembers so many things. She remembers how in her little hut they had kept the portrait of Mansa Devi. They had a statue of the snake goddess, Mansa Devi, and she spoke about how they would pray to that every time. And there was a king cobra that lived in her house, and how the king cobra lived there and never did anything to her. And that's when Shoma makes a connection that the snake that bit her must have been the king cobra. And she asks the little girl, like, if the king cobra was so friendly with you, why did it kill you? And the little one just says, no, he was protecting me. And, so there's some story there that is left unsaid at that point in time. But they come back, and they come back with all this information. And a day after that, Varsha, they get the news that Varsha's father was killed in a road accident. And and Shoma and her husband are shocked. I mean, a day before they were at the Sundarbans together, and now he's dead. And when they go to meet the family, Varsha's mother is crying away, and she says, "No, the little one told me, don't send father, don't send father." And she said, I just didn't tell him because I didn't know I thought something was wrong with my child, but she knew that something was wrong. And anyway, eventually, Varsha goes along with her mother back to Ahmedabad, where her mother comes from. And we have no news of Varsha after that. We only know that at some point in time she goes off to the United States, but there is no news of what happens to Varsha in that time. So very quickly to come back, Dinu, in the meanwhile, you remember Dinu is Shoma's nephew. Who was staying with Shoma because he had some kind of an illness. We are now shown that Dinu has grown up, and he's now studying in Brooklyn. He's got a job there. And he constantly, so the book goes back and forth between 1969 and current day Dinu. The book is told in Dinu's voice, really. And he keeps in touch. He's of course very, very close to Shoma, since Shoma is almost like his mother. And he takes care of Shoma. Shoma is, they show over the years, Monty her husband has passed away. Shoma also falls ill at some point in time, but he takes care of her. And when he leaves, she has to be put in a hospital bed, but he makes sure that she's put in a hospital bed in her own house. And Dave is there, the Burmese, who's now of course a man who's married with children, but has stayed there always with Shoma. So he takes care of Shoma while Dinu is in Brooklyn. And when he is in Brooklyn, when Dinu is in Brooklyn, there is a young man called Tipu, who is a climate activist. He's introduced to Dinu through a friend, and he's from Calcutta. He was in the United States. He moved to the United States. Now back at the Sundarbans, working in the whole climate change area and things like that. And Tipu reaches out to Dinu, saying that Shoma did some work in Sundarbans, and can you find out more about it? And Dino tells him that there is no way. All her work was very, very confidential. And it's mentioned in the book as well that Shoma always keeps her clients confidential. So there is no mention of a name. There's only a case J. And Dino's asking him, why do you want to know this person? Why do you want to know this case? He says, because we need somebody who has ghost eyes. And the meaning of ghost eyes is somebody who lives in the human world but understands the spiritual world as well. So people who are basically go through this reincarnation and things like that. And because she belonged to Sundarbans, they saw it in that case where her name is not there in one of the papers that they found of Shoma's. They say that he says that we must get in touch with her because there is something bad that is going to happen at the Sundarbans, and we need her to be able to come and help, uh, you know, stop what is happening. So, Dinu tries and checks with Shoma, but of course, Shoma doesn't say anything, doesn't mention anything, and eventually Shoma passes away. When she dies, Dinu's still in the United States, but she tells Dave, the Burmese helper, that whatever is in my study, please give it to Dinu. He's the one who will appreciate all the work that I have. And eventually, when Dinu goes back to India and goes through her study and goes through her papers, he finds her appointment diary. And that's how he finds Varsha's name. Right? And they search the net for Varsha. They can't find a Varsha. They eventually decide that, we must try and set up. Let's try and find her. Let's attract her to us. Dino, I think, tells that Dave is the one who tells them that she's now moved to the United States, but there is no news of her at all. There is nobody by that name that is there, right? But they do find one lady by the name of Monsoon Abhay Putri, that is there, who's a Walmart investor who has just retired. And they sort of put two and two together and think that it's her, right? And it's a little kludgy, but it's changing the name from Varsha to Monsoon, and Abhay Putri because her father's name was Abhay. So they sort of think that this is the person that is there, but they don't know how to get in touch with her because Monsoon Abhay Putri is unreachable, right? Nobody has a face for her. Wherever people have seen her, she's always in a scarf, very, covered, dark glasses. So there's no real person, for them to go after. So they find photographs that both that Abhay, Varsha's, the little girl's father, and Shoma's husband, when they went to the Sundarbans, they had taken some beautiful photographs. So they hold a photography exhibition in Brooklyn and advertise it, do a great job. Now, Tipu is a young boy, right? The one who's asking for this information, who's the climate activist in Sundarbans. So he, of course, unlike, seniors when we can't figure out how to get onto social media, Tipu is the one who's gone and made this very, very popular about this photography exhibition on social media. And Varsha does come in to see that. And eventually she meets Dinu and she tells Dinu that, who are you? Right? How dare you put up my father's photographs? And he says, I want to meet with you and I have the whole story and I can tell you the whole story, but you must come to my house. And eventually she meets with him. She reads. Dino has written out the whole story, so there's a typed script that is there, and she reads it and she tells him. So he tells her that we need you to go back to the Sundarbans because there is a problem there. We need you to go back home. And she tells him that, I can't go back home. I will go back home only if you can feed me some fish, and fish like the way I ate in your house, the way like your aunt gave it to me. Now, this was too much, right? Poor Dino had only eaten good fish in Calcutta. He had no clue how to cook it. But Tipu and everybody else joins in. They help him get the rolling stone to grind the masalas. They find Bangladeshis in Brooklyn to get the fish, to get the little boti, the cutting knife that you hold in your toes, and you cut vegetables and you cut fish. So they get all the equipment. This poor boy is watching all YouTube videos to try and get the recipe right. And finally, when he gets it, he thinks he has gotten it right. They call Varsha. She comes, and when she sees the ingredients, she just cooks the entire fish, right? The different fish that this boy has got, and she cooks it and she eats it. And basically, the food is a trigger, right, for all her past memory that is there. She agrees to go to the Sundarbans. Long story short, on Makar Sankrant, there is going to be this big energy corporation that is opening, that is going to use the ground there for building something, and it's going to destroy the fish and the ecology. And Tipu and his friends are trying to stop that, and they eventually, invoke and get people to come there to protest this by saying that there was a temple of Mansa Devi there. And there's a huge legend, right? She's a snake goddess, and people believe in her so much. So a lot of people come because of that. But the corporation is using its might to keep the crowds away. But eventually Varsha is there, and she uses all her powers that are there, to be able to save it. And yeah, and that's how the book eventually ends with them stopping the corporation from doing whatever they want to do in Sundarbans. It also has a twist about Dinu's past as well, and there's a whole twist to that, but I will not cover that. All those who want to read the book should read the book. So I'm not giving you any spoilers. But that's what the entire story is about. Um, I want to tell you that what makes this book so special, needless to say, is the research that Amitav Ghosh does. I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal. He does. He does so much of work on the study of fish. I mean, I'm trying to get the word right. Each theology, it's what it's called. Each theology is a study of fish, and especially study of bony fish. And if you read the book, you would imagine that this man has a PhD in it, because he talks so much about the fish and gives it all its scientific names, and the different varieties that are there. And you would imagine that something so scientific, and if there was so much of this, would be so boring, right? But that's the magic of Amitav Ghosh. It is so much of learning while you're reading about fish species, about the river ecology, about so many historical and cultural references that are there. It's phenomenal what he does, really. There's so much research on reincarnation. I mean, it's not just on fish, on reincarnation. At one point, he talks about Pythagoras. And we all know Pythagoras because of that silly theorem that we all had to learn when we were in school, and it's drilled into our heads that we'll never forget it. But Pythagoras was a great advocate of reincarnation. And it's there in the book. And I went and checked on the net to see whether Amitav Ghosh was just making this up, but it's true. So there's so much that he brings in on this. Dave, the Burmese boy that was there, he has a spiritual leader called Shindao Nat, and I went in and did a research on that. And there are Burmese monks called the Nat, and they can, tell you about the future. They talk so much. There are so many things about spiritual leaders like this who can predict the future from different parts of the world that he talks about at the end, who actually helped Varsha in when she comes back to the Sundarbans. So it's truly phenomenal, the kind of depth that he brings into this book. But that is lovely. The next thing that I want to talk about is about Calcutta and his love for Calcutta. It is Calcutta is a character in the book. It's not just a city, and he describes it so beautifully from 1969. And and it's not just painting Calcutta to be the most beautiful place in the world. He talks about the power cuts, and he talks about the government there, and he talks about life in Calcutta, which is not easy. And yet he talks, about how people miss that part of Calcutta. And this is through Dinu's eyes, right? About how beautiful Calcutta is. So it's a sense of a city that's constantly changing and yet so rooted, that is there. And I think if you hear any Bengali speak about Calcutta, I feel it's the same. They love it. And when if you ever visit Calcutta, you wonder what is there to love about the city. But I think you have to live in Calcutta and to be able to appreciate, whatever Calcutta has to offer, no matter how difficult or whatever it is that Calcutta has. But Calcutta does that, I guess, to people. So really, there he describes it in a way like nobody else does. He talks really so about the geography of Calcutta, about the memories, about the rhythm of the city. It's beautiful how the description about it. The other thing that I was amazed in the book was by the language that he uses. Okay, first of all, of course, he uses language that I have never, some words that I have never heard of in my life, like blue stocking to describe a woman, right? And there is a word like that, blue stocking, to describe a woman. There were some others that were there, and I forget some of those words. Did I write that down? I don't remember. But very, very interesting words that he uses. So his English is fabulous, but he also uses words like jhola. He uses words like adda. He uses words like bhot bhoti. And I mean, bhot bhoti, I didn't even know what it was, but just reading it, you will get the reference of the words that he is using. And this is for a global audience. So I sort of enjoy the authenticity of staying faithful to the language in a way. He doesn't translate it for a Western audience, which is nice. I like that. He leaves it just like the way it is. Now that I've said everything that I like about the book, let me just tell you about a couple of things that I didn't enjoy about the book. Now, this book didn't get great reviews, I want to tell you. Many they had a lot of criticism about the book. The Guardian wrote a scathing article about the language that he uses in the book, that it's so dated in a way. But I want to tell you that I actually was away on a 3-week holiday, and I was hoping to take the book along with me and read it on the holiday. And then I cheated. I went to France, so I wanted to read a French author, so I read that. And I had just 1 week to read the book, and I was really nervous that I was not going to finish it before this review. But true Amitav Ghosh style, you pick it up, and I couldn't put it down. It was just so easy to read, and it's very readable. It's very, very readable. So I'll come back to the things that I didn't like about the book, though. One is, many places there was a great stretch of imagination that was required. Okay, so reincarnation, I'm on the fence with that. That didn't bother me so much, and I don't think that was so much that was there. But when they were protecting the temple at Mansa Devi, there were two Bengal tigers that come out of nowhere, and they're protecting it, and there are 30,000 people, and nothing happens to them, and I'm not sure. That was a bit that was a bit much for me. It just seemed a little improbable. Some of those things, reincarnation maybe possible, but two Bengal tigers just hanging around there didn't do much for me. And the other thing that was like just most annoying, according to me, is every time Tipu came into the story. Tipu is that climate activist that is there who was there in the Sundarbans. He's the young kid, right? He's the Gen Z kid that is there. So I don't know if Amitav Ghosh tried to use language that I'm presuming what young people would use, but I don't think people use words like pops. Every time he speaks to Dino, he calls him pops. And I don't know. It just jarred with me that if that interaction every time that Tipu came and the language he used just bothered me. But that's me, and that was my personal reaction to it. But having said that, okay, and before I end, I want to tell you this book reminds me why he is just such a compelling writer. Yeah, just because he can tell a story so beautifully. He can weave things in um, which have to do with climate, which have to do with fiction, which have to do with realism, religion, myth, and still make it such an enjoyable read. So not every page convinced me, but every page kept me reading. So I just enjoyed the book tremendously. I will stop for now and I will open it up for discussion.
Uh, I request
Yes.
people to please unmute themselves and then speak. I had muted everybody, but please go ahead and unmute now.
Uh,
Sunita,
am I audible? I'm audible? Okay.
Yeah.
may I speak?
Yes, Mukul.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah, no, I came in this evening just because you were making a presentation. Had no desire to hear about reincarnation. Like you, I was millions of miles away from anything like that. But I found it, the way it's woven and the way you've told it to us, uh, really, really very interesting. So next time there is somebody with some such theme, I have to think twice, and say, no, I'd better join or something. But very interestingly put. He's written it interestingly, but you presented it very interestingly. But otherwise, no for any reincarnation and temples and snakes, and not at all. Yeah, just
Thank you, Mukul. I just want to check with Runa. Runa, just tell us something about,
Don't
I
ask
don't
me to
know.
tell you about fish. I think
Yeah.
that enough has been said, huh? So no, I'm dying to, I wanted to read this book. I haven't got around to it yet. Asha, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
yes,
Yes.
we hear
yes.
you well.
Okay. Now this whole business about reincarnation, I want to talk a little bit. Um, do you remember an astronaut called Edward Mitchell?
Yes.
He flew in Apollo 14. He
Ah.
landed on the moon. He did it while coming back. This is all, by the way, recorded. Huh? Maybe, I don't know, during that time, people knew a lot about it. He had what is known as a cervical samadhi.
Sorry?
He had a spiritual experience, okay? And when he came back, he says there is something more to this, all this material world and material sciences and blah, blah, blah. And he went and met a lot of people. And then eventually he founded a foundation. It's called the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Noetic, which is based in California. And they research. Noetic means all paranormal phenomena, ESP, telekinesis, blah, 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 and reincarnation, dreams. So he founded that. and it's a full-fledged institute which has very acknowledged, very educated scientists, psychologists, historians on their board, and they do a lot of research. They publish a lot of research spanning years and years, decades, in fact. And there was one guy who finally became I think, the dean of that institute, fellow called Dean Radin. He's got a lot of books. He himself does a lot of research on dreams. But through his books, I realized he says reincarnation and instances of reincarnation has been there throughout ancient history and even now. It is only in the last 200 to 300 years when the whole world has become very materialistic. They only believe in what they can see, hear, touch, and the physical sciences. Um, I won't even say physical sciences. Um, you know, uh, Material, anything which you can see, hear, touch, and feel. Those are the sciences which have got a lot of precedence, and it's during this time that belief in any other kind of experience or feeling has sort of gone by the wayside, and we throw it out saying it's superstition. However, it's coming back because physics itself is coming back to what is consciousness, right? And it's even admitted, it's on the cutting edge of science and research, that consciousness is something which is there and you can't deny it, it can't be replicated, and it is the very essence of the universe. Now, in all of this, this is the background. But what I'm trying to say is, from Victorian times, there have been a lot of people who have been trying to research and record reincarnation stories. So there is documents. I mean, there are a lot of stories of people. There are even people who have gone and met. They have done some research, gone back to the places where the reincarnated people say, we were there and all. A lot of it is there. And eventually, this Noetic Sciences Institute, they did a lot of tests to see whether these are genuine cases or not. They found non genuine cases, people who are always trying to bluff and so on. But they also found very, very many, I mean, more cases which appear to be genuine but unexplained because we can't explain it. We don't believe in reincarnation. But it's there. And as far as the writings of these people are concerned, it's a given that reincarnation is a thing. You may believe it, may not believe it, but it's there. I mean, and all the religions of our world, all of them believe in it, including Christianity, though now they don't because, the church has a different agenda now. But originally, all Christians believed in it because if you believe in spirituality and consciousness and in something which you can't see, hear, touch, feel, then you do automatically feel this. So that's about reincarnation. What I'm trying to say is, we always say, ye kya? And I'm not saying accept every story as something authentic. You have to test it, you have to prove it, etc., etc. All of that. So that's that. The second thing is this business about the tigers and all that, which Sunita was talking about. See, I've noticed Amitav Ghosh ever since Gun Island, really.
Yeah.
In fact, you've read, I mean, if you read Hungry Tide, a little bit of mysticism comes in because the Sundarbans itself is that kind of place, right? Then you come into, then you do Gun Island. Now, Gun Island, also, there is a lot of stuff which you have to suspend disbelief. So, this is where I think this whole business of, what do they call it? Fantastic, no, what?
Magical
Something.
realism.
Magic realism.
Yeah. So that comes in, and I think this story is probably also using that. He used that completely in Gun Island. Gun Island ends, its ending is very curious. I mean, a lot of people don't like the book because it's woolly, but it's woolly because he's dealing with these kind of ideas of things which you can't explain logically or rationally, and so on and so forth. And I feel this book probably also deals with, I mean, brings this in. It's magical realism. It's may not be true really, but and magical realism, I mean, so much great literature, movies, etc., made out of magical realism these days. So,
Thank you.
so this is my little lecture. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, Monali.
Oh, thank you, Sunita ma'am, for such a lovely presentation. The book is compelling, I know. In fact, I have read part of it, but I could not finish. But it seemed to me, whatever I have read, it seemed to me like a very neat sequel to Gun Island. And of course, even Hungry Tide. So the characters keep repeating, they keep
Yeah.
coming. So we see Tipu was a teenager in Gun Island. Now
Correct.
he is a young man. So we can see, and we are very happy to know that he is now an activist. So probably in the next novel of Amitav Ghosh, we will see Pia and so on. Interestingly, Bengalis are very fond of fish.
Is
and
it him that he
onomatopoeia.
talks about?
Yeah. Bengalis are very fond of onomatopoeia. So it's a figure of speech that resembles the kind of sounds we hear around. So when we get into a boat and it's a diesel boat, it starts like this, bot, 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 bot. And so it is called bhot not bot but bhot. So only a Bengali would know this. So just thought I would tell Sunita ma'am about this. Thank you so much. It was an amazing presentation.
Tiny intervention, tilapia. A true blue
tilapia.
Bengali does not like tilapia, by the way.
True.
You know, Sunita, you can make any book sound interesting. And you've done it again.
Yeah.
Frankly, I haven't read the book, but I did read Gun Island. And I remember Monali presenting it and my defending her on some issues. Now, this book has again got these, what shall we say, funny gray areas, which people are bound to be skeptical about.
Yeah.
And you made it sound all very plausible. So I say hats off to you, Sunita.
To make it interesting.
I know. I remember Chetan once said, you know, you had made a certain book sound quite wonderful. And I'd read it and I knew it wasn't. And Chetan said, Sunita tends to make things look better than they are. So I suspect that is very much what you have done. And I do not blame all the critics. I don't blame all the critics who have criticized certain aspects of the book. It probably required to be criticized. But this is Amitav Ghosh after all. And he has such a gift, doesn't he? Of writing, of researching, of putting it all together in this very readable package.
Sunita, what was the word we used? Delicious sex?
Oh.
Where are you, Sunita? You were laughing about it. Delicious sex or something. I used the word.
Sea of puppies.
The sea of puppies.
Yes. So Moini, I want to tell you, this is not his best work. That is for sure. I don't think this will go for a Booker or should go for a Booker or anything like that. But still, to give it to the man, it is a book that I read. You know, I didn't put it down. I sat and I read through it. There was never a moment. And there are other books I know that I struggled through, and I said, I have to read this book because it is so good, and let me go page by page and struggle through it. But this it just kept the interest. Yes, so many things were, not plausible. Some things annoyed me. Some things did that, but it was readable. Every page was readable. So he is fabulous in that sense as a writer.
Yes, agreed. Yes. By the way, how long or short is it?
It is some 320 pages.
Oh, not big.
Yeah, but it's a good font and it's easy to read it's that.
Can I just ask a question, Sunita?
Yes, Ladika. Yes.
Just wanted to know, you're talking about magical realism in the story that you have narrated. Does the style also go along with this? Because you have to move from a certain world of reality seamlessly into a world of magical realism. You don't even know you have stepped into it. At least when I read Gabriel Garcia Marquez, it was like that. You don't even know you've come to another world. Does his style also take you like that, move you that way?
It did for me, Latika. It did for me. And I think some of it was some of the magical realism. For example, the tigers was too much for me. And I thought that was a bit much. But there were times when he talks about there are many other parts as well, about the snake that was there, and and what the important, once they killed the snake, what happened, the kind of things that happened, about a crow. And I'm saying those kind of things are something that I think you hear as you grow up. So I think maybe that's why it was more in that I was okay to that, when the snake was killed, all the bad things that happened, and, the crazy stuff that happened around, I was willing, I was sort of open to that because I've heard of that growing up, of when people die. And, I remember when my father-in-law passed, we had to go and feed the crow. And that crow is such an important part of it, and it was an important part in this book as well. But it sort of seemed to me that was okay because it was part of all the myths and the superstition that I had grown up with. So yeah, it didn't seem out of place. It seemed unreal, but I don't think the writing took away from anything at all. It was at least from my perspective, Latika.
So what?
Quick question. What led the author to write this storyline? Did he experience any of, people with reincarnation, or how did he come up with the storyline? Any idea?
Azra, it was, I don't know whether he's had any experience with reincarnation, but just from what I've read about him and the theme of the book really is climate change.
Okay.
And he has woven these themes in, of reincarnation, magical realism, the myth of Mansa Devi, brings all that in to bring out what, are the disconnect between humanity and ecology and what we're doing.
Okay, I get it.
So
Thank you.
That's what he's doing. Yes.
Well, thank you for that lovely presentation.
Not at all. My pleasure, Azra.
Yes.
Any other people there? I can't see all of them.
Alpha was around.
Yeah, I'm here. I haven't read the book, but I read a part of it. And I like Amitav Ghosh actually, Sunita. That's the reason I'm here, even though I haven't read the book. It's just, I think probably the first time I'm attending a book club without reading the book. I like him, and I read the reviews, and they were quite scathing. And they were talking more about his prose, actually, rather than the content. So I don't think the content was that much of an issue. I mean, yes, there is a bit of not believable things, but that's his imagination, right? You can't expect to believe everything that the author is saying. But the prose is what they're saying. To me, when I read it, I go more for the story, so I didn't notice that the prose was all that hackneyed and trite or whatever they're calling it. So for me, it was very, very cliche is what they were saying. But I mean, it didn't strike me. Only after I read the review, I said, oh yeah, probably it does say that. So I probably might listen to the book instead of reading it, I think, because that is something which I can do it over a few weeks. So, but I will try. But I'm not sure. I mean, the end is not so interesting, what everybody's saying. So I like a book to, come with a great climax. So if the climax is going to be a bit of a whimper, then I'm not sure whether I want to read it or not. So let's see.
There is a twist at the end, but I want to tell you, I'm the kind of person who likes everything cleaned up. There's all dots connected, and it does. So works for me.
I suppose this was part of he's written a trilogy earlier, and now this is all around the Sundarbans. So, and he did do that with Gun Island. He picked up from Hungry Tide, and when you talked about Tipu, I said, "Hey, sounds familiar." And sure enough, there you are. So.
Yeah. When he spoke about Mansa Devi, I said, "I've heard this somewhere. I've read about this somewhere." Where was it? And it was in Gun Island. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Anna, you have your hand up. Rohit, I'll just come to you after that. Yes, Anna.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Enthusiastic presentation.
Rohit, good to see you
Always.
here.
Talk louder.
Rohit has a bookshop on East Street,
Hmm.
and we've been buying books from him. And I'm so glad to see you here, Rohit.
Rohit, keep us abreast with what new books you have got.
Okay.
Yeah, Mala, good to see you.
Hi,
Wanna add
Sunday.
your more than tuppence worth? Want to?
Would you like to say something, Mala?
Unfortunately, I haven't read the book, so I don't really want to contribute at this point. But it was a brilliant presentation. I just came because it was Sunita and I had to listen to what you were saying.
I know.
Thank you.
She is
I would love
amazing.
to read the book, though.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a
Now,
very
where
good
is Sanjay? Sanjay.
Fine.
Anna had her hand up, Moini. Anna, you wanted to
Where's
say
Anna?
something?
Sorry, yeah, okay, I was muted. Yeah, fascinating presentation. Thanks so much, Sunita. So, yeah, I read the Calcutta Chromosome quite some years ago, and it absolutely foxed me. The Hungry Tide was fabulous. I felt I was totally involved with.
Sanjay?
Yeah, everybody
Anna, we
has
can't
their
hear
own
you.
beliefs.
She's
Their
still
own beliefs.
sorry.
Yeah, everyone has their own beliefs, their own ideas, which are rooted in our religion, in our socialization, in whatever it is. So for me, I feel it's not a big issue with me. About the tigers at the end, the magical realism, I think, so recently,
Go ahead.
He's having some internet issues.
He's been cut off again.
Yeah, have we lost her sound, or is it that we can't hear and everyone else can?
No, we can't
don't
hear.
know.
we're talking about protecting the environment. When we see what's happening all around us, sometimes we feel so weak and powerless. So, literature through the ages has brought in magical realism to help the weak feel, okay, there is a power which cannot be seen, touched, or felt, but which comes. So it may take the form of that magical tiger, it may take the form of Batman or Superman or millions of things right through the ages that have been there. So I think that it's kind of there to give the weak and powerless, make us feel a little more powerful, if you know what I mean. So that wouldn't really put me off the book. I don't think anything would put me off. So I think I'm going to buy it. And thanks so much, Sunita. So that was just what I wanted to contribute.
Thank you.
And Rohit will give us discounts. Book club discount.
No,
All
Rohit
club
needs to
members will
start.
get 20% discount, don't worry.
One
No,
minute.
no. Rohit needs to start online
Book club.
sales. No, we can't
Rohit, your
bear the
book.
experience.
I will deliver it to your house completely.
Let me say.
Don't worry.
Can I ask you a question, Sunita?
Rohit and his family have been for decades having a bookshop, and he's the last one left really of the old school.
That's true. So we should support him.
Support him, please.
We are only 80 years young now.
Sanjay, I think it's about.
Yeah,
80
hi,
years he's
Moini.
been on.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah, to you and your dad, and etc. Always.
Can I ask Sunita a question?
Okay, anyone else?
Sunita?
Sanjay was about to say something. Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for a lovely presentation, Sunita. I really like how much enthusiasm you were able to bring to these sessions, and it does lend a positive spin to everything. And Amitav Ghosh, of course, is a writer most of us like, I think. And what I really admire about him is the way he brings together detailed knowledge of science and mixes it so well with folklore and myth and the supernatural. And I think he's one of those people for whom there is nothing like natural and supernatural. In his world, there is an observed reality and there's an unseen reality. So, I mean, he believes that inanimate objects are capable of reactions, capable of sentiments, capable of feeling, capable of interaction. It's a consciousness at a very different plane. I mean, I can't see the logic or the rationale behind it, but that's what he believes in. But I do feel, I don't know whether you'll agree with this, that he uses literature as a tool to push his favorite theme, that climate change is something that concerns him. And so literature is maybe a means of pushing that idea of mobilizing support in favor of policies that you would like to see. But he does write very well, no doubt. And there has been criticism. I saw the Guardian review that you mentioned, and they said that he's used a lot of cliches there in his prose. I can't say much about that because I haven't read the book, so I probably shouldn't be commenting. But I can imagine it would be definitely, if anything written by Amitav Ghosh does make for a very interesting read. That goes without saying. Thanks, Sunita. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Latika, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Latika.
I just want to ask you that when you were reading the book, did you feel when you came to a moment when it was supposedly magical realism, did you feel yourself drawn, pulled into another world? Because that's how I felt when I was reading Isabel Allende and so on. That I was moving out of one world and going into a world which was different, a world I didn't know, couldn't comprehend.
No, I'm afraid I didn't feel that way, Latika.
Okay.
I didn't feel that way.
I think probably because Amitav Ghosh's magical realism is a very mild variety. I think he just puts in a little bit of things in. It's not a full blown magical realism, I feel. He just puts in a couple of things which are maybe slightly unbelievable or something which you might want to stretch your imagination a little bit. So it's part of that, I feel. Even I've read Hungry Tide. In that also, there are a couple of things which didn't seem very believable. I haven't read Gun Island, so I don't know about that. But so there are some things, yes. Calcutta Chromosome, of course, was. Again, I didn't understand the book, but that is okay.
I didn't either.
Gautam, Kaveri, any
Kaveri.
Hi, Sunita. So lovely just to hear you speak. And you sort of bring life to whatever you review or talk about. No, I haven't read the book, and nor am I though I'm a Bengali, nor am I a fish eater. So, but koi and tilapia, I think, would sort of cleverly chosen by Amitav Ghosh, because these are internationally known names for fish. But Manusha Devi is a big thing. Our domestic help comes from the Sundarbans, and worship of Manusha Devi is taken very seriously over there. And whether she goes for Durga Puja or not, she will absolutely go for Manusha Devi Puja, because they believe that prevents them, snakes from coming to their houses and snake bite. That's something they take very seriously. So that legend is beautiful. But Amitav Ghosh, I think Sanjay said it beautifully. He is, I think it was Sanjay, that his interest in ecology and environment is being, utilized in many of these novels that he's writing. That is the core interest, and he builds different stories around it to address his basic concern, and which is what he seems to have done with this one as well. But sounds very interesting. I have to tell you, I completely do not believe in reincarnation at all. And so that's one of the reasons why I said, no, I don't want to read this book. So, some of the reviews have not been favorable. But thank you so much, Sunita. As ever, so full of enthusiasm and vivacity. It makes it lovely to hear you.
Okay, Uma.
Uma, can you hear us? No, I think don't think.
Okay, Gautam, you can't stay so quiet, Gautam. I know you're dying to say something, Gautam. I know it.
No. I'm not dying. It's just that in my previous
He's dead.
incarnation, I used to read the books, and it's unfair in this life because of you, Sunita. I'm forced to spend money and buy a book. Hopefully I'll get it at a discount from Rohit. So that's your presentation, Sunita, cost me a hell of a lot of money. That's one. And the second aspect is that it's encouraging, and this said, or I think Sanjay perhaps said, that in terms of protecting the environment, if bestsellers kind of push the agenda of environment and saving the environment and getting people interested about it and getting concerned about it, it's good. So from that point of view, I will go to East Street and buy the book, despite the money. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you, Sunita.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else, or shall we close for today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you for coming back, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks from now.
Thank you, Sunita.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks, Sunita. Thanks very
And
much.
hi to
All
you
the best.
both, Satish and
Bye-bye.
Mohini.
Bye.